you have OPA 1501, which is about the use tax. 15 years ago, when the auditors went out to look at the operations at Customs and Quarantine, they were finding they had no scanning ability, they had no electronic mean of retaining things. They were collecting boxes of invoices and bills of lading at the rate of 28 to 30 boxes a month. We looked at 2 days of collections at that time, October 12th and I think December 12th, and found that for each of those combined days, the amount of bill of ladings came up to almost $21 million. That's like $10 million a day. That was over 10 years ago. During the COVID era, we did the audit on, I think we made another one. It was audit number, OPA audit 20-01, where I was wondering how much was coming in on that 747 that was landing. And I think I got from the airport some number, I can't remember what it was. But we were estimating we were losing millions and millions and millions of dollars. I mean, when you look at it, the gross receipts tax was almost $300,000 a year at the 4% and the 5%. But the use tax, ever since I was chairman of Appropriations 16 years ago, on the committee, has never gone above $700,000. They're supposed to be collecting percentage per percentage. I mean, maybe it would make $50 or $60 million a year because it's not as much as what's being collected here on Guam. But there was a period where, and I think now, most of the stuff is coming in. One of my friends actually even has Amazon deliver his paper towels. People are living off just Amazon Prime. I mean, it's gone crazy. The brick and mortar stores are closing. But Customs and Quarantine, at least in the last audit that we did, are still collecting it in boxes. Probably more than 30 boxes a month now. Certainly more than $10 million a day, but we don't know. I was also interested in this because of the tobacco tax and the alcohol tax, but that aside. So I was really, really elated last two legislatures ago, or when Senator Munoz Barnes got the initial authorization to allow for this system to be procured. I have been dogged in following it up with the administration to the point of where they see me and they say, we tried. I know all their customs people have said, all the directors have said, they've tried, but they couldn't get it through because some question about the authority to accept money from the United Nations and our political status. Or the procurement problem didn't go through, it wasn't moving fast enough, and it fell through. We've got to do something, either move through with this and go through with a system, or invest in it ourselves. The amount of money that we've lost since this issue first came up 10 years ago could have paid for this system 10 times over. This wait, and not do anything has to stop, sir. And I support the intent of one, getting a system in place, something that's in the 21st century. I may not be able to turn it on. I may not be able to know how to go into it. But I'm sure they can get OTAC and some other technical people, get an 8-year-old to come in and show them how to handle it. But, you know, the kids are very savvy on this. We need to do this. We've lost too much money over the last several decades. This use tax has been in effect for almost 40 years. The amount of money that we've lost, I mean, is unconscionable. And the damage that it's doing to brick and mortar businesses on island, because everybody's using Amazon and Walgreens and Etsy and whatever, and we can't collect the taxes when they send it in, could fund quite a bit of operations. So I asked the legislature to as expeditiously pass this bill, and if this doesn't work, then invest. Just say, bite the bullet, and we're going to say we're going to pay for a system, we'll pay for it, we'll invest for it out of the general fund, you know, take it as a loan from the rainy day fund or something, but do something, because we cannot continue to bleed this much money every year. I mean, it could be as much as $150,000 a year. I mean, $150 million a year. Even if we don't collect the 50 or 60 that gross receipts is collecting now, it could have collected 40 or 30 million. But whatever that amount is, it's 6 figures in any way you cut it. Please make the investment and make it as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Public Auditor. I appreciate that. And, you know, again, the audits make it seem that CQA is not doing its job. That's with the audit. But as the Oversight Chair, having worked closely with, of course, Chief John Rick Mendiola and, of course, Colonel Frankie Gutierrez, and all these amazing, of course, men and women that watch our borders, they're not doing their job. It's giving them the right tools to be able to do their jobs.
Please don't interpret that as us saying they're not doing it. We went up and saw them.
Sure.
When we were doing another audit and we wanted some documents, they went through 400 boxes. Mm-hmm. They had 16 officers pulled off the line to come and pull stuff out of boxes so we could try to show how much was being collected in I think it was alcohol tax or something. Mm-hmm. They shouldn't have to do that.
Sure.
It should be just something, enter.
Yeah, you know, just actually just a couple months ago, I wasn't able to attend, but I had Senator Borja attend for me down in Palau alongside Customs and Quarantine, and I think also BSP. I think you guys were there as well. Yeah. And I think in their first quarter in Palau, and look at the implementation, in the first quarter of Palau's implementation, I think their collections went up, 21%. Right? Is that something like that, right? Senator Borja? Yeah. And that was just a rough number at the time. It wasn't not a number, but roughly, their collections went up 21%. So you can imagine, you said, you know, previous boxes, 30 boxes, maybe even more boxes nowadays. But with that, again, that's why we're giving the men and women the tools to be able to do their jobs. But we'll just go ahead down the line here. Mr. John Rick?
Senator,
okay, okay,
I'll
okay,
yield
we
to
defer to the director? Okay.
the director
Okay,
and the
okay,
chief
okay.
first for their
No
testimony.
problem. No problem. We just go ahead, Mr. Director. Go ahead.
Happening. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of this committee, Senator Ada, Senator Borja, Senator Gamotauto, Senator Barnes, and Senator Calvo. I am IQ Pareto, Director of the Customs and Quarantine Agency, and I am pleased to provide testimony in support of Bill 234-38, a measure introduced by Chairperson Lujan and co-sponsored by Senators Muña, Borja, Duenas, Parkinson, San Agustin, Gumatauta, Calvo, Salas Matanani, and Speaker Blas. The bill's intent is to address the imperative need to reform, modernize, and automate the current antiquated customs operations, practices, and procedures on Guam. Bill 234-38 grants Customs and Quarantine Agency clear legal authority to adopt the automated system for customs data globally, recognizing ASYCUDA as Guam's official customs management system. Furthermore, it authorizes the agency to enter into intergovernmental agreements, memoranda, and other requisite legal instruments with United Nations Conference on Trade Development, known as UNCTAD, the proprietary owners of this management system. If enacted into law, this bill will significantly complement existing customs reform legislations, specifically Public Laws 35-105 and Public Law 3782, which initiated the modernization of customs processes for preparation into the digital age. The use of ASYCUDA will, in turn, enhance CQA's efficiency and effectiveness in identifying fraud, illegal smuggling, strengthening risk and trade assessment, providing real-time accountability of goods for customs entry, improving customs inspection fee collections, and optimizing resource management. For the government of Guam, ASYCUDA will be capable of gathering and compiling real-time statistical trade information that can inform policy decisions and improve the identification and collection of revenue on existing taxes. For our stakeholders and the public, the system will foster transparency, predictability, simplification of clearance and process, digital access to clearance of goods, and an overall improvement of customs clearance processes compared to our current manual operation. The fundamental question before us concerns the real rationale of ASYCUDA. To understand or support for this system, we must explain the origin of this system used by over 100 countries around the world. First developed in 1981, the UNCTAD ASYCUDA was initially established to compile trade statistics. In its inception, it was soon recognized that the most appropriate and well-positioned governmental organization or entity to capture, collect, and manage this task comprised customs officials, given their inherent duties to regulate cross-border activities. Since its initial iteration, ASYCUDA has evolved to encompass other facets and capabilities of cross-border trade facilitation. Based on the specific needs of customs administrations, we added the growth of abilities of the system. Among other elements that has contributed to the expansion of the system includes electronic data interchange, innovation of logistics, public needs, incorporation of globally accepted instruments developed by the World Customs Organization, such as SAFE, which is Standard, Secure, and Facilitate Global Trade Framework, and the harmonized commodity description and coding system, as well as the codes and standards developed by international organization or standardization, has led to the current system
Guam, not the federal government. This means that Guam Customs performs the full federal customs mission locally, enforces both federal and local laws at our borders, acts as a collaborator for numerous federal and territorial agencies, including agriculture, public health, revenue and taxation, environmental protection, homeland security, and others. Conducts inspections, seizures, investigations, and arrests related to customs, narcotics, fraud, and prohibited goods. Despite this expansive responsibility, Customs has historically relied on manual, paper-based, and fragmented systems that no longer match the scale, complexity, or security demands of modern border operations. Bill 234-38 addresses this gap. ASYCUDA is not an experimental system. It is a globally deployed customs management platform currently used in over 100 countries, including many small island and developing economies with trade and enforcement profiles very similar to Guam. Most importantly for this legislature, Guam's delegation recently conducted an on-site operational study of Palau's ASYCUDA system, where it was observed the system as a functioning in real time, not in theory, but in daily practice. Palau's experience demonstrated that ASYCUDA transitioned customs operations from paper to fully electronic processing, enabled real-time data capture and reporting, automated duty and tax collections, implemented risk scoring to target high-risk cargo, integrated customs with revenue, immigration, and biosecurity functions, and resulted in documented increases in revenue collection of estimated to around 27%. This is not a projection, it is an observed outcome. During the Palau study and internal Guam discussions, it was repeatedly acknowledged that Guam may currently be missing between 60 million and 110 million annually in border-related taxes and fees due to manual processing, delayed declarations, inconsistent data, limited audit trails, gaps in air cargo, postal, and courier processing. ASYCUDA directly addresses these issues by automatically calculating duties, fees, and taxes, preventing release of goods without proper declaration, creating permanent digital audit trails, allowing revenue and taxation to access accurate and real-time import data, supporting compliance enforcement and post-entry audits. Bill 234-38 is therefore not simply a customs bill, it is a revenue, protection, and fiscal integrity measure for the government of Guam. Border security, public safety, and risk management. Customs is Guam's first line of defense. Today's threats include narcotics trafficking, weapons and prohibited items, biosecurity risks, communicable disease, terrorism-related threats, illicit financial flows. ASYCUDA enhances border security by enabling advanced cargo information, automated risk profiling, targeted inspections, integration with X-ray and inspection technologies, data-driven enforcement decisions. This allows customs officers to focus their limited resources on the highest risk shipments rather than expending time on low-risk compliant trade. Whole of government integration is a key strength of this bill. One of the most important findings from the Palau study and a key reason this bill is so critical is that ASYCUDA only succeeds when implemented as a whole of government approach. That is why it was essential that this effort included members of the Guam legislature, the Office of Technology, the Department of Revenue and Taxation, the Bureau of Statistics and Plans. Their participation ensured that ASYCUDA will integrate with Guam's architecture and IT, support statistical reporting and economic planning, align with tax administration systems, and comply with legislative intent and oversight. Bill 234-38 formalizes that coordinated approach. This bill positions Guam for the future. The passage of Bill 234-38 will modernize Guam customs operations, improve revenue collection and compliance, strengthen border security, reduce costs and delays for legitimate trade, increase transparency and accountability, align Guam with international customs standards, enhance Guam's leadership role in Micronesia and the region. Most importantly, it ensures that Guam Customs has the tools required to fulfill the responsibilities that federal law already places on our shoulders. In conclusion, Chair and Honorable Senators, Bill 234-38 is necessary, timely, and responsible. The evidence is very clear. The risks of inaction are substantial. The benefits of modernization are measurable and proven. On behalf of the men and women of the Guam Customs and Quarantine Agency who carry out this mission every day, I respectfully urge the legislature to pass Bill number 234-38. I'm subject to your questions. Thank you, and Sidus Masi.
Thank you very much, Chief. Chief, I want to also commend you for your leadership. And again, through your initiative and your team's initiative, this bill is coming forward. Thank you very much. Captain?
Hafaday, and good morning, Senator Jesse Lujan, Chairperson of the Committee on Transportation, Tourism, Customs, Utilities, and Federal and Foreign Affairs, and Senators of the 38th Guam Legislature. I am John Rick Mendiola, Customs Officer Supervisor with the Guam Customs and Quarantine Agency. I'm here to testify in full support of Bill number 234-38, introduced by Senator Lujan and co-introduced by Senators Muñoz Barnes, Borja, Dueñas, Parkinson, San Agustin, Gumatauto, Calvo, Salas Mantanani, and Speaker Blas. The Customs Administration processes in Guam, established when control was granted to the local government in the 1950s, are significantly outdated. Despite the substantial growth in cargo volumes through our air and seaports, the methods of clearing, accounting, auditing, evaluating, determining, and reconciling entered goods have remained virtually unchanged from that era. For the past 75 years, the Customs and Quarantine Agency has relied on an outdated manual and unautomated system to review and clear goods. This system is used for determining admissibility, enforcement, regulatory compliance, taxation, auditing, and other crucial customs and quarantine purposes, all manually, all through ledgers, all through boxes. The volume of incoming freight makes this manual review process extremely challenging. CQA personnel must physically review immense amounts of documentation attached to over 900 sea containers and 200 tons of air freight arriving weekly. A time-consuming process vital for ensuring the safety of our island. We still do it. Furthermore, this manual system fails to capture valuable economic and statistical information contained within these documents, resulting in a critical data deficit. Globally, this form of manual customs entry submission and clearance is no longer accepted, even in many least developed countries. Almost all customs administrations worldwide have implemented automation initiatives to enhance their processes, improve risk assessment capabilities, capture essential data, and create a more user-friendly environment that encourages trade. As mentioned, countries within our own region, including the Palau, the Marshall Islands, and the FSM, have all automated their entry clearance facilitation process using the ASYCUDA system. And I didn't include this, but it's quite ironic that a lot of that goods that these countries are receiving actually are coming in through Guam before making their way there. Again, I support Bill 234-38, which, if enacted, would adopt the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development's automated system for customs data, ASYCUDA, as Guam's official customs management system. While multiple factors have stalled the Guam government and CQA from implementing an electronic customs-focused platform like ASYCUDA to replace the current manual and outdated process, I want to use this time to express my specific reasons for advocating for this legislation. The return in adopting ASYCUDA will provide the government enhanced risk assessment and compliance, implement an automated, integrated, and analytical system utilizing current technology, algorithms, and smart software to improve risk and threat assessment, identify goods for physical or regulatory inspection, detect fraud, non-compliance, combat smuggling, and ensure internal transparencies. Improved revenue collection and reconciliation significantly enhances the assessment, recording, collection, revenue, and reconciliation of existing taxes. This has too many times been addressed by the Guam Public Auditor and UOG reports. Third, generates real-time trade data, compiles accurate, concise statistical trade and economic information using the HS system for real-time reports essential for policy and economic planning. Facilitates government information sharing, shared compliant customs information with authorized government users for their own policy evaluation. Accelerates clearance and minimize costs. Improve and speed up customs clearance through information technology and electronic data interchange, streamlining procedures and reducing costs for both internal and external stakeholders. Bill 234-38 designates ASYCUDA as Guam system, allowing engagement with UNCTAD and exempting these agreements from local procurement laws. Engaging with UNCTAD is a judicious decision. Despite the availability of for-profit companies, UNCTAD is the optimal choice for Guam's automation needs. For over 40 years, this intergovernmental body has continuously evolved ASYCUDA to meet global standards and create a robust, affordable platform delivering specific benefits that includes a system capable of handling manifest, electronic declarations, and goods accountability. The capability to generate detailed information on trade activity for utilization in economic analysis and planning, a system that is pre-aligned with all international codes and standards relevant to customs processing established by the ISO, the World Customs Organization, and the United Nations. The ability to configure to accommodate Guam's unique requirement, such as our duty-free status, our customs regulations and statute, and following initial configuration, remain fully adaptable to any subsequent changes in customs processes, regulations, and legislations, demonstrating affordability and a positive return on investment. The utilization of electronic data interchange between users and customs administration, a team comprised of specialists and technical experts possessing a customs or border management profile and experience in customs management automation development. Interoperability with other government systems and a pathway for transition to single window systems. Finally, it established reputation and extensive global distribution, evidenced by its adoption in over 100 countries worldwide, including numerous Pacific Island nations. It is for this reason that I reiterate my support for Bill 234-38 and extend my appreciation for all those senators who have supported this and other measures that provided for resources and legislation needed by CQA. Thank you for the opportunity, and I'm available for questions by the committee.
Thank you, Captain. You know how ironic you say that most of the cargo that our other islands receive come from Guam. So what we're not capturing, they're capturing.
They have our export trade data.
They sure do. OPA? Maybe. No comment. Okay, we'll go ahead with the BSP. We'll start. Yeah, go ahead.
Half Day Chairperson Lujan and members of the committee, my name is Matthew Santos, and I serve as the Deputy Director of the Bureau of Statistics and Plans, and I am here to testify in support of 234-38. Bill 234-38's mandate for Guam to adopt ASYCUDA is consistent with the direction that the government began 4.5 years ago. In May 2021, the Department of Interior Office of Insular Affairs, Guam CQA, and BSP met and determined that ASYCUDA was the solution to modernize customs management and trade data collection. We mutually understood that the automated commercial environment and automated export system used by US CBP was not available to Guam, and it would require customization for Guam's use. Second, there was no commercially available customs system available. Third, building a custom system for the government of Guam would be outside the government's means, even with federal support. And just a little a note on the side for that, when doing market research for this, we found that the minimum GDP per year for a country that had a custom system was about $120 billion, which would be equivalent to 20 times our economy. And the least amount that I found for that was available online was close to $100 million, all in for their full system. And then lastly, UNCTAD's ASYCUDA is the only financial viable solution to modernize. The use of ASYCUDA would be free to Guam, and Guam would only have to cover the costs associated, with implementation. So after a meeting, it resulted in a TAP grant project with the OCO to perform a technical needs assessment, customs reform plan, and develop legislation and regulations in preparation for the adoption of ASYCUDA specifically. With federal support and agreement in this direction, we made our first official request to UNCTAD to provide Guam technical assistance to use and implement ASYCUDA on Guam on July 16, 2021. As a condition to assist Guam by UNCTAD, the U.S. State Department mission to Geneva had to explicitly approve Guam to engage the UN for this purpose. A request for approval was submitted on July 2021, and the State Department ultimately approved Guam by October 2021. By the beginning of 2022, the BSP and the OCO entered into an MOU to start this project. All major deliverables for this project that were just stated were done over a year ago. Unfortunately, progress following the completion of Phase 1 was stalled by two factors. Financing. ARP funds could not be obligated in time, and our second grant was not sufficient to fully fund the project provided by UNCTAD. Second was procurement. There was not an existing Guam procurement method to procure services from UNCTAD that UNCTAD Legal would accept, and we have never procured services through a contract by a third party that was actually offering the services. Fortunately, this legislature has come to the assistance in overcoming our financial and procurement challenges if this bill is passed. Before I close, I do want to state that ASYCUDA is not just a solution because it's what we can afford. ASYCUDA will fulfill the following objectives that go beyond the digitization of forms. It includes reduction in bureaucratic friction. Currently, manual processes and outdated systems create bottlenecks at our ports. ASYCUDA automates the manifest and declaration process, significantly reducing the time it takes for goods to move from the dock to local shelves, combating illicit trade. ASYCUDA includes sophisticated risk management modules. Instead of inspecting every container, which is impossible and slows down commerce, the system uses data to flag high-risk shipments for inspection, helping keep drugs and contraband out of our community. Regional interoperability. Our neighbors in the FSM, the Marshall Islands, and Palau have already successfully transitioned to ASYCUDA. For Guam to remain the hub of the North Pacific, we must align our digital trade standards with our regional partners to facilitate seamless transshipment and logistics. Revenue enhancement and transparency. By automating the calculation of taxes and permit fees, the government of Guam can ensure revenue collection while reducing the potential for administrative errors and corruption. High-fidelity trade statistics and enhanced economic statistics. Guam will finally have complete, detailed, accurate, and available trade statistics. This will also improve the reliability and timeliness of key information for other economic statistics. This implies to the improvement of estimates of household consumption of durable and non-durable goods, serve as a primary source for estimating construction and equipment and business investment, which is private fixed investment, be a critical indicator for validating government investment, and allow changes in private inventories to be estimated as a fifth component of Guam's GDP. Data-driven decision-making. For the first time, Guam will have access to precise real-time statistics. This data will be invaluable for local businesses and policymakers when planning for economic diversification. And lastly, Custom single window. A custom single window is a facility that allows parties involved in trade and transport to lodge standardized information and documents with a single entry point to fulfill all import, export, and transit-related regulatory requirements related to biosecurity, environmental protection, and public health. ASYCUDA provides the software infrastructure to handle the complex electronic data exchange required to make the system talk to banks, shipping lines, and government regulators. So instead of a business owner physically visiting the Department of Agriculture, Guam EPA, Public Health, Customs, and then the port, they could ultimately submit everything digitally at once. And before I close, I do want to touch on two subjects, and one is whether this will fully kind of fix a lot of our issues, like say for use tax. Got my water, sorry. I'm not sure if it was discussed, but the Postal Service is still going to be an issue even with the system in place. Let me pull up my phone really quick. So most states have implemented an economic nexus. Economic nexus is a legal standard in the U.S. state tax law that requires businesses to collect and remit sales tax or use tax based solely on the volume of its value within the state, even if the business has no physical presence. This concept became widespread following the 2018 U.S. Supreme Court decision in South Dakota versus Wayfair, which overturned the previous physical presence requirement. As a result, all states with a general sales tax or use tax have enacted an economic nexus law. So a lot of these, like, I guess remote seller agreements or, those types of agreements that, states used to have with companies like Airbnb or VRBO or Amazon were no longer necessary after the implementation of those. So I guess compelling them to remit any type of tax related to that shipment would, that we would have to have some of those first. The system itself wouldn't enforce those types of arrangements. But so at the beginning of this project, me and the former director of the Department of Revenue and Tax, we actually went up to Saipan to see how they did it, and they actually stand out. Their customs agents, who are also revenue agents, stand outside the post office and like literally make them fill out the form, inspect their receipt before they can leave the post office, and they enter it in. And that's been their route to doing that. That's not feasible for here, especially with home delivery and other methods of delivery. So I do want to state that that's not going to be the issue. And I think that the public auditor kind of overlooks the amount of work that went into this because, obviously automating is the right thing to do, but doing things right is really critical because we don't want to have to roll out a system that might be detrimental at first and take a long time to roll out. We want to be able to do it right from the start. And thank you for having me today, and hopefully you guys understand the benefits of the bill that you guys proposed and the benefits to the government and the public.
Thank you. Actually, in the findings, I was surprised to see that Guam's #1 export is beer.
And tobacco, yeah.
And tobacco, coming in second?
Yeah, it's beer, tobacco, and used cars.
And used cars.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Hafa, my name is Michael Ford with the Office of Technology. I'm here to represent OTEC in the implementation of the ASYCUDA system for Guam Customs and Quarantine Agency. We are in full support of this new system for the Customs and Quarantine Agency, and we're excited to assist Guam Customs and Quarantine in their new era of data modernization. Following the successful trip to Palau and observing their ASYCUDA implementation, we've identified a few key items that we would need to pay attention to in implementing this. I would first say that this testimonial that I've provided was more written for the Customs and Quarantine Agency, but hearing that we were invited to come and speak, I thought I would go ahead and provide this for you guys too.
Could you state your name? I'm sorry.
Oh, my name is Michael Ford with the Office of Technology.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we've identified a few key points for the implementation of this new system for Customs and Quarantine Agency. We have a prediction of project expectations, the ASYCUDA architecture, how it was set up in Palau and how we similarly set up here in Guam. The API between payment system integration with current systems that Customs is using for their payments and how to integrate that with the new system. We also want to touch on the ASYCUDA internal application user security, touching on things such as their existing low bandwidth internet connections at customs and quarantine sites, and obsolete network LAN switches that they've got. Network infrastructure improvements are what they need. We've also identified some items with IT support, such as establishing on-site IT staff for the Customs and Quarantine Agency and identifying some OTEC responsibilities. So in our prediction of project expectations, these are subject to change. This is based on former projects that we worked on that are similar, with similar architecture rolled out. So to start off, in our presentation in Palau, the ASYCUDA engineers or experts actually provided hardware and support in setting up the system. So their engineers would actually come in and implement the hardware. So it would be a smooth rollout with somebody who knows the system inside and out, and we will definitely be there to support and make sure that everything goes smoothly. So the ASYCUDA engineer would recommend provide hardware that meets OTEC minimum hardware specifications. We'll just make sure that they're compliant with cybersecurity and laws that are, make sure their system is up to date and secure. Where OTEC is there to aid by receiving and installing any supporting physical hardware. ASYCUDA engineers will install the ASYCUDA application and database environment on virtual machines within the Office of Technology Data Center. These are servers that are virtualized on physical hardware. OTEC is to assist in the project timeline regarding hardware, software installation, and Guam.gov network connectivity. We're here to, OTEC is to support connectivity requests regarding ASYCUDA engineers' access. The Guam CQA will work with the ASYCUDA engineer on developing Guam-specific customs modules within the ASYCUDA environment, because you've got Palau and all these other countries that have specific processes, and the ASYCUDA engineer will actually develop those customs modules specific to what our needs are, versus having a specific template and then just rolling that out, and then we do what we need to do with it. They're there to assist with any kind of system that they need. So Guam CQA would develop policies, procedures, and training processes for the ASYCUDA applications with the assistance of the ASYCUDA engineer as well. Make sure their staff is trained to use the system. Anyone who is logging into the system will have some kind of instruction on what they need to do to move forward with this process. Guam CQA will need to coordinate interagency communications with Revenue and Taxation and/or Department of Administration regarding how incoming payments and data exchange will be handled. The API integration with the ASYCUDA system will depend on this outcome, how the payments will go through the new system. And I realize that some of this can be a little technical, so bear with me. So OTEC will configure rules on our firewall to ensure that the website for the ASYCUDA system is available for local users and government users. This step would likely be implemented after user acceptance testing between ASYCUDA engineers and Guam Customs and Quarantine Agency. The Guam CQA, OTEC, and ASYCUDA will work together with the existing vendor who's hosting the Customs and Quarantine website to install and test the login portal for this new system so that it's available for anyone who needs to use it. So those are the project expectations of what we would see the timeline would be. Of course, it's subject to change when we make first contact with the engineers. So as far as the architecture in Palau, their ASYCUDA system is housed on site on physical hardware with virtual machines, virtual servers. They have a 30 megabyte per second internet connection that supports it, and they have no issues. They have replication of the system, so that in the event the main system goes down, they have a backup system that will come up to support it, things like that. Basic technology standards. So they have ASYCUDA portal accessible from their customs website, as we mentioned before, and they have multi-factor authentication for cybersecurity into their portal. So for Guam's architecture, it would be a very similar setup. We would recommend that it be housed on-site with virtual machines, and our internet connection is higher than theirs. And of course we have more people on this island, so we'll have to absolutely make sure that everything goes smoothly with the connections there. But we don't foresee any issues there. Their application portal can also be established through OTEC's firewall, and we recommend to follow their multi-factor authentication and their backups and replication processes. So they did mention that their server and virtual environment were provided with the ASYCUDA installation package, the physical hardware. If it's offered to Guam as well, we would recommend moving forward with that same package. They did mention that there is a cloud option, but issues may arise with that cloud hosted option in which data is stored outside of the country in Fiji, Malaysia, and we would need the data to be stored locally. So the cloud option would only be possible if the data resides within the United States. And in the event the hardware package is not offered to Guam, we must be wary of the possibility of procuring additional equipment and licensing, and any hardware that would be procured must be TEA compliant. So for the ASYCUDA system, OTEC will request a technical call to establish expectations, deliverables, and a project timeline regarding the installation of the ASYCUDA server architecture. And of course, this is if this bill is passed. Everything. So as we mentioned before, with the payment system integration, CQA currently receives incoming payments through a TPS payment system integrated with the AS400. Guam CQA will need to coordinate interagency communications with DRT and or Department of Administration regarding how incoming payments will be handled, and this, the system, as an API, which is application programming interface between the two systems, that will depend on that outcome. And the ASYCUDA engineer will assist in developing that inter-application between those two systems. Okay, and as for the next point of ASYCUDA internal application user security, with cybersecurity and optimal application performance in mind, there are areas needing attention within Guam CQA and any other agency that will be using ASYCUDA. To support the ASYCUDA system from a Guam.gov end user's perspective, agencies accessing the web-based application are highly recommended to resolve internet speed hurdles and device vulnerabilities. Items that CQA requiring attention include low bandwidth internet connections and to replace obsolete network infrastructure. So for the low bandwidth internet connections, many of their offices have 5 megabytes per second with how much staff that they have. There's 4 locations that we've identified that they have 5 megabyte per second connections, and if they're going to use a system like this, they're going to need to definitely upgrade those, which we've communicated with CQA, and we are in the process of working towards that, regardless how this outcome goes. So they've also got outdated network infrastructure, which we've recently received an IDIQ on those, so we've provided that to Guam CQA as well. Whether or not this bill goes through, we will be upgrading those. So those will be covered, but it will require additional funding for those things. And if it could be included with this implementation, that would be ideal. So we also recommend that the Guam CQA hires some in-house IT staff. So the Office of Technology is here to assist in any IT-related matters. However, we are unfortunately understaffed in assisting over 40 Government of Guam agencies receiving over 7,000 tickets a year. While OTEC strives to complete help desk tickets in a timely manner, there are multiple occasions where a ticket cannot be resolved immediately due to full staff schedules. Our recommendation is to establish in-house Guam CQA IT staff. In this process, a memo of understanding between OTEC and Guam CQA will establish positions and expected responsibilities of in-house CQA IT staff. So for their responsibilities, they would, for instance, if people need password resets for the ASYCUDA portal for immediate staff and like immediate issues like, oh, this network cable is broken, there's somebody on site to come and fix that immediately, and it's not going to hold up any of their issues. Versus if they open a ticket with us, we'll handle it as soon as possible, but there may be how many tickets in line before that ticket, which is why we recommend some in-house IT staff. So for our OTEC responsibilities, we do maintain server operating systems and hardware backend support and configuration of their network infrastructure. So we will be there to support that as well. And of course, there to support the process of implementation with the ASYCUDA engineer. OTEC is here to assist in any IT-related hurdles along the way and work to best to our ability of supporting CQA to update and ready their efforts in data modernization with ASYCUDA. And please note that the items on this document are not set in stone or subject to change, and we are in full support of this bill.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay,
Half a day and good morning, Chairperson Lujan and members of the 30th Guam Legislature. My name is Tom Nadeau. I am the Chief Environmental Public Health Officer with the Division of Environmental Health and Public Health. On behalf of Teresa C. Arreola, the Director of Department of Public Health and Social Services, we thank you for allowing us the opportunity to present testimony on Bill 234-38, an act to add a new section to Chapter 37 of 5 GCA relative to mandating the adoption of the Automated System for Customs Data, otherwise known as ASYCUDA. Before I continue, I'd like to apologize in advance that I would have to excuse myself by noon, but I do have my staff, Leilani Navarro. She's an Environmental Public Health Officer Administrator, and she can take my place and answer any questions you may have specific to our operations as it relates to the adoption of ASYCUDA. So with that, the Department of Public Health and Social Services strongly supports Bill 234-38. All food, drugs, cosmetics, and medical devices that are imported, distributed, and sold in Guam are regulated by the Division of Environmental Health under Title 10 GCA Chapter 40, which is the Guam Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, to ensure that these commodities are not misbranded, adulterated, or fraudulent. At present, Division of Environmental Health, or DEH, we rely heavily on Guam Customs and Quarantine Agency to identify and intercept imported products that may violate the Act. This process is largely manual and paper-based, limiting the ability of regulators to proactively identify emerging risks. The implementation of ASYCUDA represents a critical modernization of this process, and it has the potential to significantly enhance DEH's own consumer commodities program. By adopting ASYCUDA, DEH and CQA will be able to move away from manually reviewing paper manifests, and instead, it can rely on the data-driven risk management tools of the system. ASYCUDA will allow for the automated identification and flagging of high-risk commodities, such as unapproved drugs, adulterated foods, or mislabeled cosmetics for inspection, while allowing low-risk shipments to clear more efficiently. This will not only improve regulatory effectiveness, but it will also reduce delays for compliant importers, thereby supporting lawful trade and economic activity. As a result, the system can greatly improve DEH's regulatory effectiveness by providing advanced visibility of imported goods, improving oversight, and streamlining compliance activities through access to ASYCUDA data. At the federal level, there is a similar system called the Automated Consumer Environment System, or also known as ACE system, managed by the U.S. Customs and Border Protection, or CBP. The import data submitted through ACE system is automatically transmitted to the U.S. Food and Drug Administration's Operational and Administrative System for Import Support, or otherwise known as OASIS, which enables FDA to electronically screen and manage its regulated products. Thus, the modernization of Guam's importation surveillance through the adoption of ASYCUDA is particularly appropriate to public health, as it would provide DEH with a comparable mechanism to to electronically monitor, screen, and manage the many consumer commodities it regulates. Upon the adoption and implementation of ASYCUDA by Guam CQA, DH2 can seek to modernize its operation and the regulations of consumer commodities by developing its own integrated regulatory platform that interfaces directly with ASYCUDA, with of course the support of the OTEC, like how our counterparts in FDA interfaces with the federal ACE system. By doing so, this will improve data sharing, prioritize inspections based on risk, manage the growing volume of imports more efficiently, and ensure that imported consumer commodities entering Guam meet applicable safety, efficacy, and quality standards. In addition, from an overall public health perspective, the implementation of the system combined with the interface possibility with DEH, this department can expand inspection capacity at ports of entry, warehouses, and retail establishments, modernize laboratory testing capabilities to detect emerging threats such as unapproved pharmaceutical ingredients, microplastic contamination, and carcinogenic compounds in food and cosmetics. Also strengthen rapid response, recall, and traceback capabilities during public health emergencies linked to unsafe consumer commodities. Enhance enforcement actions against repeat violators who import unsafe goods, thereby deterring bad actors and promoting fair competition among compliant businesses. And finally, increase consumer education and outreach to raise public awareness about the risks associated with adulterated or misbranded products. Ultimately, these improvements directly benefit the people of Guam. A modern automated import screening system reduces the likelihood that unsafe foods, drugs, or consumer commodities that reach store shelves, homes, schools, and healthcare facilities. It also allows customs and DEH to shift from a reactive enforcement model to a preventive, intelligence-driven approach that protects public health before harm occurs. In closing, public health once again thanks Senator Lujan for introducing Bill 234-38, along with the others from 38th Guam Legislature for advancing legislation that strengthens Guam's regulatory infrastructure. Sizus Maasis. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Nadeau. Got a few questions for us, as our colleagues to chime in as well. Thank you for your testimony this morning. Yes, go ahead.
Sorry,
Charlie,
Mr.
go
Chair.
ahead. Come on,
I just wanted to.
Okay, Charlie will testify. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead. You're coming up. Go ahead, Charlie. Identify yourself and then we'll, yeah.
Have a day. My name is Charlie Hermosa. I'll be brief because I think everything was already said through all the advantages of putting the system in place. Honorable Chairperson, Senator Lujan, thank you so much. Senators, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to say a few words. I support the intent and direction of the legislation. Modernization, digitization of the Guam's port system is not only appropriate, it is necessary for improving efficiency, transparency, and competitiveness across our supply chain, but it will finally provide a much-needed tool for the men and women serving in our Guam Customs and Quarantine Agency to do their job. My comments today are offered in the spirit of strengthening the bill and ensuring its successful execution. By way of background, I previously served as the formal lead of the Digitalization Committee under the Port Users Group, where I worked directly with government agencies, port operators, and private sector stakeholders on the digitization initiatives. That experience informed my perspective that good policy must be matched with clear operational planning. This committee that we worked on with the Port Users Group, Senator, was almost 7 years ago. So 7 years ago is where we started this process. Clarifying long-term ownership and maintenance, while the bill establishes a clear policy direction, it does not specify who will own or operate and maintain the digital system once it's implemented. The reason why I say that is because, in my perspective, if OTEC should not be responsible in running this system. I believe that if OTAG is in charge of managing the system, it's going to fail. Digitizing is not one-time effort. Sustainable systems require dedicated system ownership, ongoing maintenance, cybersecurity, software updates, licensing, user support, and data governance that we all know about. Without explicitly identifying the responsible entity and funding source, even well-designed systems can struggle over time. Alignment also, I also encourage consideration of current execution capacity within our government entities, particularly IT and BSP. As a practical example, the Guam Office of Technology has faced many challenges implementing relatively simple transactional adjustments, such as disabling or modifying an online processing fee when we register our vehicles. We still can't get that thing off. I'm still getting charged. Every time I go in and I apply online. And for some reason, we can't get that corrected. This highlights the importance of ensuring that any digitization mandate is paired with clear authority, staffing, and technical resources. Reviewing the implementation timeline, I propose a timeline particularly that the expectations of operational readiness shortly after the 90-day period will benefit the entitlement refinement of the process. Based on real-world experience, effective port digitization typically requires procurement or system design, integration with existing platforms, multi-agency coordination, and this is where the critical is going to be very critical, because the fact is that we're also mandated by CBP. So coming inbound to Guam, domestic, going outbound, international, these systems have to be able to talk to each other, and that is the most critical point. So just putting a platform together and saying that we're going to put a system and we're going to let ASYCUDA run it is not just an easy task. I completely support Bill 234-38 with the recommendations that I'm trying to put forth. I strongly support the goal of this legislation, with modest refinements focused on the execution of Bill 234-38 can deliver meaningful long-term benefits to Guam's operations and broader economy. Thank you for your leadership and for the opportunity to provide this testimony.
Thank you, Charlie. And actually, you've addressed quite a few of my the questions that I have as well in regards to the system, the ownership and the maintenance thereof of the system. Yeah, we can have it and we have a bill, a nice bill, but the implementation and again, maintaining that is another thing, would be a challenge. And of course, they would have to addendums to the to your budget, to your 26 budget actually, or 2027 budget. For implementation with that. But Mr. Gutierrez, yeah.
Hafide, and I guess it's still morning. Good morning, Senator Lujan and esteemed members of the Committee on Transportation, Tourism, Customs, Utilities, and Federal and Foreign Affairs. Senators Gumatautal and Barnes, Hafide. My name is Franklin J. Gutierrez, Jr. I have 32 years experience working for the government of Guam, and 30 of those years have been with the as a Customs and Quarantine Officer. I hold the rank of Colonel, and I'm currently assigned to as Assistant Chief of the Special Enforcement Division. I'm just going to keep this short because I think a lot of my our command staff pretty much covered most of the things relative to ASYCUDA. But this modernization effort represents more than new technology. It symbolizes our commitment to efficiency, transparency, and readiness for the future by aligning Guam systems with regional standards and learning from other nations' achievements. We position ourselves and our region for stronger border security and to improve trade facilitation. And I think another important thing to consider also is Guam being outside the U.S. Customs Border Patrol Customs territory, and we do not have access to those systems. I mean, we've tried to get it. There's no way we can get access to it. Even through MOUs, there is a system called ATSG, which is which is a passenger analysis type of targeting system. And it's a global system. It's kind of an old CBP system, but that would be mainly for like passengers and things like that. But relative to a true customs management system, there's really nothing available other than we designed something from scratch. So I believe, ASYCUDA, the ASYCUDA customs management system would be the best choice for 3 simple reasons. It's already established and available. It is proven and utilized by many custom agencies in the region. And it also is designed to have interconnectivity for single windows. And if the public doesn't understand what the term single windows is, it's basically a trade facilitation concept where businesses submit all their import and export documents via one online digital entry point to meet all government requirements. And I believe that's something that Mr. Hermoso had talked about the government not talking to each other. So I believe the fact that ASYCUDA does have the single windows module, and this will be a great thing for us. And in closing, by adopting the ASYCUDA, we can move to a unified system to embrace a proven solution that is already strengthening our regional partners. This initiative, again, enhances transparency, drastically improves revenue collection. I was the lead for the Palau delegation, and Senator Borja actually was with us, and in your place, Senator Lujan, and he himself saw how a nation as small as Palau was able to within a year and a half, able to transition from paper to electronic. And Guam, of course, is a bigger, as far as containers and the products and goods that move through. But I think that's a perfect example of that it works. And their revenue collection, I believe, within the first year was 27%. I think that's the number that they gave us. So I also urge this body to pass the bill so customs can ensure our island remains stable and a secure hub for legitimate trade. Thank you for the opportunity to give my testimony, and to our oversight chairman, Senator Jesse Lujan, for introducing this bill to finally get customs out of the Stone Age. God bless customs and God bless Guam.
Thank you. Thank God your uniforms are up to date. Thank you very much again for your testimony this morning. Just a few questions. What is the realistic timeline to implement ASYCUDA on Guam? And what are the major milestones, again, that we should track from contract to execution to going live?
It's like 24 to 36 months, like after a contract.
I'm sorry, 20?
So 24 to 36 months.
Okay.
And that's after the contract's been inked.
Sure.
One of the challenges, too, is onboarding a customs expert that's going to be a resident expert here on Guam, so there's timing associated with that as well.
Okay. Yeah, some of the questions have been answered already, but again, what is the projected upfront cost and ongoing maintenance cost, and what funding source is anticipated to sustain the system long-term without compromising, of course, your core operations? Yeah.
Okay. Let me just say
CQA.
that my estimated cost is a little bit over $2 million.
$2 million.
But Matt from Bureau of Statistics and Plans can give you a more specific.
Okay.
Yeah, that's around the same amount. I think the contingency that they provided was like $327,000.
Okay.
And we also, depending on if we go with this ASYCUDA Next Gen, which is purely cloud-based, we're going to have to, invest in like a limited amount of, infrastructure for the system.
Yeah. Is that an upfront cost, or is that can we divide it between 27 and 28 budgets?
I think that's something that we need to negotiate, right? Because
Okay.
right now we have 1.2, and then we have another 750 that we can use for like hardware and other upfront costs that we need to cover before they come here.
And the reason why I was asking this, right, and there's a couple questions here, because we have budget hearings coming up. And so we need to address that up front. And so that's why I need to see how we can decipher this out, and whether we look at it as in the 27 budget, and again continuing in 28 budget. What realistically can we implement on your old 27 budget versus can be delayed until the 28 budget? So yeah.
In addition to that, Senator, I think our estimated cost just to maintain that system from a maintenance standpoint is about $150,000 a year.
150 a year?
Yeah, after everything.
Okay.
Is,
Okay.
So I see your question there, Senator. It's how once, like what Matt said, once the ink is dry on the contract, how can we construct the payments for the upfront costs? How we can at least either appropriate solely through the budget requests, or if it can be broken up into installments.
Sure.
I mean, of course, that would all come with the during the negotiation parts. Again, once this bill is passed, then that will allow us to formally engage in those types of discussions with the UN.
Yeah, and this is without compromising your core operations, right? I mean,
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. And as mentioned here, who owns the data generated by ASYCUDA, and where will it be hosted, and what cybersecurity standards and access controls will be required to protect, of course, sensitive trade information? So,
Yes, definitely, and OTEC and BSP can chime in at any time.
Yeah, so part of the project is to understand data governance in relation to local, from IT policies to regulations to law. So like, whether it's protecting taxpayer information or it's a cybersecurity type thing. So that's part of the assessment when they start.
I think one of the things is that we're gonna want to own the information. We understand that we are governed by other federal, besides local, but there's also federal laws in protecting U.S. information, taxpayer information on U.S. citizens. So I think at the forefront, we're gonna require that all the information that is collected and is collected by Customs is owned by the government of Guam, ensuring that all standards and both local and federal policies with regards to governance over the data is secure and safe.
Yeah, and the only data that we know of that we have to kind of put up just to participate is Comtrade data, which is import and export information, but it's really reporting in aggregates that we publish, so there's no risk of revealing personal information or information in business that might kind of compromise an industry.
Yeah. So how would that integration happen between, of course, the Port Authority, Airport Authority, and the other relevant agencies, environmental health agencies that will need access to the system? How would that integrate? How would that be integrated?
So those agencies will be able to have logins to get into the system via the Guam Customs and Quarantine website. So even agencies outside of the immediate light agencies that government of Guam handles, the OTEC handles their network, they will still be able to log into the system and access specific modules and information that they need to.
Would that information again purge the information that is sensitive to again, and that would information that cannot be disseminated?
If it's important information like FTI, PII, things like that, it would have to be a highly secure connection that they have. Things like multi-factor authentication, additional cybersecurity based on the level of information that they're going to be accessing. And most of that type of information would be internal to our network, and those outside would be heightened security for those types of logins.
So that person or persons that will man maybe this system at CQA, what are those qualifications, or what does that look like for, because we're going to try to work this in their budget.
I think that's a major activity that's part of this project proposal provided by UNCTAD, is to really understand governance and controls. So that will define it and ensure that we adhere to internal policies, regulations, and laws that relate to privacy and governance.
Okay.
And Senator, also, so after 7 years of going through this, the framework already skewed. What they're talking about, logging in and all this, we want a seamless process where the information of the shippers are inputted all the way through. And that is something that we worked on 6 years ago, where we brought in consultants, they evaluated, we made a presentation to the governor, and we said, the system right now at the port has dongles ready to be connected with whatever system Customs is going to acquire. And all you need to do is connect, and the information is going to flow fluid. So this whole notion about logging in and people having access is absolutely a farce, because it's very inefficient. It's got to be a seamless process. And it goes back to the process. It goes back to how we're going to capture the data, and the data is going to capture at the input, at the origin level, so that Customs has the ability to have that all in the front. It should be very seamless for Customs to be able to get this. We shouldn't make it hard for them. But the framework they're talking about is already off.
It's not our framework, it's the ASYCUDA framework. We're not designing this framework, it's ASYCUDA, the system that exists already.
You're going to be managing it.
So we're going to be housing the architecture. We manage the server and backend infrastructure. We don't manage the application itself, which is similar to a lot of the other applications, such as driver's license, things like that.
And this goes back, Senator, this goes back to every single system that we have here. And they're off-the-shelf systems that OTEC says we don't control. They can't shut off things as easy as a little fee. And we're gonna turn that over to them to handle customs-related issues?
Yeah, and I think you're talking in relation to your exposure in Palau. So they made the decision to go with an older version of ASYCUDA, where a lot of these things don't apply anymore. So ASYCUDA Next Gen kind of brings it completely to the cloud, to where you're not going to require to do those things. And I think that the implementation in Palau was very site-specific, and until we have a resident expert, we won't know the most effective and efficient way to implement it.
And have you spoken to CBP?
And we recommend the
Have you looked at the integration with CBP, with our shipments, the majority of our shipments coming in domestically from the U.S.? Have you seen the integration with CBP?
No. Yeah,
so we're using Palau as a basis to
we're
form.
not using Palau. That's what I'm trying to clear up. So at the end of
address the chair. Please address the chair. Thank you.
Mr. Chair. Yeah, this Palau's, that exercise was really just to be about exposure to it, but it was not supposed to define exactly what we're going to do. So I think a lot of these details will be, explained and understood as part of the project that we can't really discuss right now, because they're going to be addressed in a best practice fashion and be done by experts.
Right. And we recommend the cloud infrastructure. So the only reason we're suggesting the on-site is so that the data resides within the United States, applicable to the laws. So the cloud option that they have, their data is stored in Fiji and Malaysia. Now, if they can procure a cloud option, no, that's what, according to the ASYCUDA engineers who presented it to us while we were on site, they did say that the data would be stored in Fiji and Malaysia. But if the data can be stored within the United States, we highly recommend the cloud option. That's the only reason why we presented the on-site.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I may. So in discussions with ASYCUDA and the Oceania Customs Organization, we were actually discussing and asking questions about cross-platform communication with entities like the U.S. Customs and Border Protection, and their program being used like the automated customs environment. And to answer the question, yes, we can. It's just a matter of making sure that in our collaboration with UNCTAD and the ASYCUDA folks that come out here, that the modules are able to cross-communicate across platforms. So it would be asinine if we were going to go into a system and there was no cross-communication. So to the point that Charlie's trying to make is that these are the things that once the resident experts from UNCTAD come out, they're going to dig through the weeds with us. They're going to meet with all our stakeholders, to include Port Users Group, the different regulatory entities, and they're going to ask, what is it that you would like to see the system do? What is it, and we will be asking questions like, what kind of safeguards are available? How does this communicate with other platforms? What is the security issues that we're going to face? Are there any? How can we protect it? So with that being said, we're not going into this blindly. We're going into an agreement with the United Nations that actually has this ASYCUDA program that is well over 40 years old. So I'm pretty sure that the communication issue that we're talking about is probably moot or very minimal. Thank you.
And can I add to something? So Mr. Charles Hermosa, right? He is absolutely correct in finding ways to keep the contingency for applications like this. And the thing that really comes down to is planning and funding from the agency who is procuring the application. So the Office of Technology is here to assist in anything that any agency needs to make things better for the public and the agency in a whole. And to keep these things going, there needs to be adequate funding for things like upgrading existing hardware, their network infrastructure, if it's a cloud-based option, things like that. There's a lot of hurdles like this that we run into.
Sure.
And I just wanted to comment on that, that it's not, a lot of these failures are not as a result of negligence of staff, it's of funding and planning by the agencies. And I just wanted to make that clear.
And thank you for that as well. And that's why, again, in implementation of the program, we want to make sure that we get this right and do this right to be inclusive of the funding source, because again, we're going to be starting again budget hearings here shortly, and we want to make sure that you know, what we can provide for the 27 budget is there for you folks. And I know the Office of Public Accountability, BJ, their ballpark $2 million to implement this program. Given your, of course, your obsession with use taxes, right? Do you think the investment is worthwhile again for implementation for the island?
At the very least, yes. And another thing, Mr. Chairman.
I wanted to get you on record with saying that.
Yes, no, any amount that's needed. In fact, if it's going to take 24 to 36 months to implement this, because of the, whatever it's going to, in the next budget, include a next-gen scanner.
Sure.
For them. At least they cannot be storing 400 boxes a year. It's a fire hazard, and it's just unbelievable that they have. If you've ever been to the warehouse, I mean, it's frightening.
No, and I hear you, and again, that's why we have this, again, the performance-based budgeting, and of course, the CQA needs to be up to par in the performance. But if we can't provide them, or we don't provide them with the funding and the tools and mechanism to perform, they will continuously underperform if not given the tools and mechanisms. So we want to get you on record on that, and we want to put this system
At least even before then.
Yes.
Just include in their budget something where they can scan all the material that they're inputting, I mean, they receive from all their different points of contact with the public. Because if it's going to take 36 months, you're losing another 100 million.
I hear you. Thank you. Yeah, let me get the, again, because the budgeting, right? Customs, and it's a little disturbing a couple of days ago, of course, in a hearing. I want to ask Customs budget execution and lapse funds because it matters for both, of course, accountability and planning. According to the consolidated revenue and expenditure report submitted to BBMR for the FY24, it appears that Guam Customs and Quarantine had a general fund lapse of approximately 2.2 million based on September 2024 CRER. At that time, based on the agency's special fund tracking report as of September 2024, it appears there was an average of approximately $900,000 for FY 2025. And the September 2025 CRER shows a general fund lapse balance of approximately $2.5 million. Are you aware that these general fund appropriations are lapsing at this level, Mr. Director?
Thank you for that question, Mr. Chair. Yes, we noticed that in our budget forecast based on the expenditure report, but based on the information that I've got, they're telling me that that is not a true figure until the audit is performed for FY 2025. So that's the information that I'm being relayed to by the fiscal policy at the front office. And I have my ASO here, so she can just come up and ascertain that that's the information that we have.
Good afternoon. My name is Clarice Briggs. I'm the ASO for Customs. I do show lapse on the general fund for fiscal year 25, unaudited at this time, 2.9.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry? 2.9 for general fund, and for the special fund, I have 1.8.
Okay. Okay. What's driving these lapses? Are they vacancies, delayed procurements, delayed allotments, or other execution barriers? What is driving these lapses?
Variety, but majority of it is procurement.
Procurement. Okay. Are they large procurements, small procurements?
Yes, they are large.
Large and small, or large procurements?
Both. We have several that, an example is our X-ray, that was 101 for last fiscal year. We did put in, however, GSA did not fulfill that, so we had to redo it for 26. It was encumbered.
Okay, okay. I mean, I know I think we gave you $250,000 for your canine unit too, for feeding and care, vet care.
Yes, but it is not available at this time. It was not loaded.
It hasn't been loaded? What is the delay? What are they saying about that? I mean, you got starving dogs. I mean, you have more dogs coming, don't you?
Yes, we have 9 coming in.
9 more dogs coming?
Senator, can I just add that we picked up our last set of bags, and our canine unit is anticipating January 25th when we're going to run out of dog food.
Mr. Chair, if I may interject, please. Sure. It's really important as we're listening to this right now. We're looking at, we just heard from the ASO that encumbrances were made. So where is the gap? Yeah, where is it from, are we holding contracts? Is there any other government entity holding up the funding source for you guys to facilitate through what the encumbrances are?
Funding source is available. It's GSA is not fulfilling it.
So you're saying that GSA, so the agreements that are supposed to be facilitated through GSA is not coming through? Is that boggled from the contracts, other signatures needing to be put on those encumbrances or those contracts or those agreements?
A lot of this are from bid, through bid, so it's the delay.
You know, this is totally unacceptable for a critical agency. And, you know, I mean, we don't want to go down this road in procurement again for this situation here. And as it is, you have 24 to 36 months for implementation of this program alone, not to mention the bureaucratic situation that may happen, it's going to be another 4 or 5 years to this, you know, and then the costs will be even driven up even more. That's totally unacceptable. Yeah, and I don't know what to say, you know, at this point, because there is money there, and the execution to give you the money to be able to do your jobs is again to a crucial agency. Anyway. From the customs perspective, is the legislature appropriating more general fund money than the agency can reasonably execute, or are there constraints on the administration side to prevent customs from accessing the funds on time? So, you know, I mean, we're trying to get to see where the holdup here is. Because we can give you the money, but if the administration is keeping you from getting the money, we need to find out where it's at, where it's locked up at. Because our only job here is to give you the money. We're the purse strings. We're giving it to you, and if it's stuck somewhere, we need to find to, as they say, unstuck it, eh? Is it on the administration side? Is it on the AG side? Where is it? So we can hunt it down and give you guys the money.
Mr. Chair, I can respond to that because I've made inquiries within the Department of Administration, and at all the time that I request, I wanted to find out if the agency have lapses, then we should use our lapses for whatever appropriation that was made for us.
Absolutely.
But in this instance, what they're telling us is that you're showing a lapses, but until those lapses are unaudited right now, and until the audit is completed, that's when they will release the actual amount of that particular funding source. And that's why the ASO mentioned...
Public auditor, can you help us out?
It's not my audit.
No, I understand.
They have to finish their closeout and everything with the GFMIS.
DOA has to finish that?
Yes.
Wow. Do you know where they're at in finishing out? Do you know how close they are to finishing out? Or how far?
No, I don't.
Whoa.
And that's just for FY24.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
So it's be a while for FY24.
Anyway, yeah. Let me send her. Go with the help.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the panel for being with us today. And can I just say, and I give a lot of credit to your committee chair, at least in terms of the Customs Committee chair, because I joined him in March. We visited the port. I saw those boxes with my own eyes. And you cannot unsee that, quite frankly. You just cannot. And so what I think of this particular bill, it is a priority. If it wasn't now, it was back in before this, as the public auditor mentioned, and here we are. So I do obviously support the implementation or getting this thing through. I only have a couple of questions, Mr. Chair, but if you can, if anyone here can let me know, will the participating agencies, we heard from a few of them today, will they be required to share in the annual system maintenance costs, if any, similar to the cost-sharing initiatives that we established to manage the criminal justice information system integration report across all of the participating public safety agencies?
Well, we don't, so we work a lot with and also fund a lot of the criminal justice, like for the switch, like you're talking about, right? So we don't anticipate that, it being that much, you know, because this is a
Okay, wait,
non-governmental.
hold on. When you said it's either they are or they're not. So I'm asking you, are they going to or not?
Well, I think we need to determine how much it's going to be before we, you know, look at, you know, whether the multiple agencies need to kind of pitch in individually, or this can just be appropriate as a single line item, because it's not going to be as expensive as our integrated criminal justice system. So I'm assuming that any annual cost we don't have to pay for, because there's no licensing fees, there's no user fees, it's not a profit model for them. So we anticipate this cost to be much less than what it is for the integration of our integrated criminal justice system.
Yeah, please, Ike.
Yes, Senator, I agree. I agree with your statement there that maybe we should look into that and make sure that if our partners are a part of this particular project, and then we should come up with something, because like what we're doing with GBB right now, our so-called EDF system that we use at the airport, they help us fund part of the maintenance for that. So it's something that it's commendable, and I think we should look into that.
And why I ask, it goes back to what even the public auditor mentioned. If it's going to take time to implement, it makes a little bit of sense for us to take any cost sharing across agencies and perhaps use that to scan some of these the documents in these boxes to assist us in how we do that particular work. Now, also recognizing that the bill authorizes CQA to enter into memoranda of understanding, data sharing agreements, or other cooperative instruments for the exchange and use of information that are generated or maintained through the ASYCUDA for customs, revenue, law enforcement, border security, and trade facilitation purposes. What considerations have been put forward regarding perhaps the advantages or the disadvantages of setting up a coordinating group similar to our Criminal Justice Automation Commission based on CQA's understanding of the system, including the information that you all gained when you visited Palau and their border group in November?
So on the face of it, we would invite members from the criminal justice, the CJAC, as stakeholders to participate in our stakeholder meetings to see how we can facilitate or assist them, and how the information that we share would be beneficial to not just us, but also in the context of the court system. So the system is made so that it's a whole bunch of data coming in. And stakeholders, the more people who provide input, either from a regulatory or enforcement point of view, or has a need, we would like to know to what extent they would need that information, and hopefully work out some sort of agreement with them.
Thanks, Vince. Go ahead, John Rick.
Senator, I think one of the bases that we are already aware of is that and what the chief mentioned, that we assist a lot of agencies. I think that's to be the foundation for us determining moving forward who and what needs information. Obviously, big agencies or agencies that we really collaborate with on a daily basis, such as public health, revenue and taxation. They're gonna need more access than let's say other agencies where our cooperative enforcement is not as is not daily. So I think that would be the basis for us to determine who and what needs type of access, and from there we can determine, and we will call them in and let them know that we're having this system, and that we will formulate and provide them the opportunity to obtain the information that is pertinent to their policy and their rules and their roles and what they're enforced. It's not going to be a free fall. We understand that this is still secured and sensitive information, especially if it deals with private citizens, their information, trade secrets, cost, and all of that. So I think we'll use that as the foundation for us to determine and collaboratively work together with these agencies to determine who and what needs things. And then from there, we can work and also start discussing a user fee agreement or something to supplement the maintenance cost moving forward.
Well, again, and hence the question. I think that if we're going to be managing this, this sheer amount of information, right? That something very similar to what is stood up with the CJAC. I'm not saying. They're probably going to have some input, but some level that you can manage So, because this system is not, it's nothing like that. It's a little bit different. But I would, again, I put it out there. And I'm just trying to kind of get us away from all of this paralysis by all of the analysis that we're seeing between us here. We're just trying to implement a public policy that, you know, and no offense, Chief, when you say that they've had this around for 40 years, I don't think that the former speaker is appreciating the fact that if it's been around for 40 years and we haven't been able to implement our own use tax, it just means that we've been really just behind, and we got to get forward and implement, and no more, it's no more talking, no more analysis. Let's just get this. I support the bill right now, and I want us to get it done. And I do support the chairman in this effort, and let's just get this going. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the time.
Thank you. Senator Mooney-Barnes.
Mr. Chair, and I know it's already 12:30, but I said to myself I'd be remiss if I didn't stay here to just see what's going on in facilitation of this Bill 234. I did want to note for the record that I rise in strong support of this bill, and I want to thank the chair for allowing me to be the co-sponsor, because Public Law 37-82, the one I sponsored, was intended to move toward modernizing customs by authorizing the use of the harmonized code system and a customs automated framework consistent with international standards. Bill 234 now gets us that much closer to implementing that law. And I know that Charlie was here earlier and he talked about a timeline. And in the 35th Guam legislature, when we first started this whole thing, and yes, we are going back in time because it's been that long, when they came up to us, talked to Senator Mary Torres, I will give her that credit, myself and Senator Joe San Augustine, to start this implementation. And I will tell you that Customs and Quarantine, I was literally every day after the implementation of 3782 asking, when will this bill that we are talking about right now, when will it get started? When are we having the public hearings? When is Customs moving forward? I also want to say that by designating ASYCUDA as Guam's official customs management system, Bill 234 gives real operational effect to the harmonized code, so that we finally have an integrated electronic system that improves its efficiency while reducing the vulnerabilities at customs, particularly with doing things by paper that the public auditor was talking about. But the realization of what we are missing is anywhere in the millions and millions of dollars. So, Mr. Chair, as you know, because we lie outside the United States Customs Zone, we cannot access the federal systems like ACE, the Automated Commercial Environment, and so we must adopt a globally recognized platform that meets our needs. And ladies and gentlemen, ASYCUDA does exactly that, and it is already used successfully by island jurisdictions similar to ours. And I will note for the record again, Guam, if not, is the only island nation in this part of the Pacific of our blue continent that is not implemented. And if we don't do this, there is gravely something wrong. So in short, Mr. Chair, Bill 234 completes the work we began way back when, since Senator Mary Torres's bill, since working closely with the public auditor, the realizations of the money that can come through. And we, like I said, I guess it was 60 to 110 million. And we're talking about fees and implementation and the framework for the government of Guam. Guys, sorry, Mr. Chair, my passion for this is implement this, Esta. Because if we don't, we're going to wait another 10 years. And when Charlie Hermosa spoke about it being, I was the speaker in the 35th. We're now in the 38th, going into the 39th. We're already in the second year of the 38th Guam legislature, and it's still not implemented. Let us do something sooner than later. And I must say, Mr. Chair, that yes, Your facilitation really has helped us going through. My apologies to Customs for not being able to go to that meeting to see the record work. And I see my good sister out there, Dee, who said, you should have been there. And I said, yes, I should have been there. But my apologies for not making it. But that doesn't stop me from trying to implement that. Ladies and gentlemen, the resources that we can have, it is a shame that we continue to put obstacles in the way that we shouldn't be doing. Customs is an autonomous agency. We should literally give them that framework. If we need to work with the other agencies, then we can come in with the collaboration, but let it start with where it's supposed to be. And I know, Public Auditor, you were the speaker, the vice speaker, you were a part of this. And like you said, we still haven't done it. If we don't do this, if we don't get this bill in this January session, oh my God, an embarrassment to us as policy, not just to us as policymakers, but to the government as a whole, because this system should be in when everybody else, including Palau, Yap, and Micronesia, has it implemented already. So this is not just a software that is, this is a protection and a realization of all the commodities that are coming in and out of this island. So, Mr. Chair, it's 12:40, I'm so sorry, but please know that the history has been noted, the years we've been working on this, the support we need, the regulatory agencies within the government, we need to come together and know that this bill needs to be on the next session agenda. Thank you. Thank you for letting me vent with passion.
Thank you, Senator Muñoz-Barnes. On behalf of the Republican majority, we say you're very welcome for the Republicans moving this forward, because it's been stagnant for years, and now we're moving it forward. So you're very welcome. You're very welcome, and thank you for sitting and agreeing to sit in my committee as well. And as we found, I actually put in the bill's intent and in our public our press release as well. Is yes, this is taking it over the finish line. Is what yourself and Senator Mary Torres had started as well, and we acknowledge that. And I'm so sorry that it got stuck wherever it got stuck in that. But you know, there's a new sheriff now in town, right? So we unstuck it. Okay. So with that being said, again, no other testimonies. We want to thank all who testified on Bill 234-38 CRR. Your input is valuable and will help ensure that if Guam proceeds with this modernization effort, it is done responsibly, securely, and with clear accountability. For anyone who wishes to still submit testimony for the record, you may do so within 10 business days. Testimony may be submitted electronically via email at senator.lujan@guamlegislature.gov. Written testimony may also be submitted by dropping it off at my office located at 259 Martyr Street, Hagåtña, Guam 96910. That being said, I don't know, Senator Barnes, if we can get this in the January session, because we've got a core meeting next week. But we don't go into session next month. We'll be going into session in March. So yes, no, I'm sorry. We tried to get this bill heard as soon as possible, and this was the first available date that we had. So we're looking for both bills, the previous bill and this bill, to be on the January or on the March session. The previous, actually, what's on the January session will be of course, the nomination, appointment of Doris Flores Books for the PUC. She would be in that session. But this one is looking like it's going to be March. I don't think our staff will be able to finish collating all the information, the reports by next week. We'll try. And we'll try our best, but I know in March. With that being said, this concludes agenda for today, public hearing on the Committee on Transportation, Tourism, Customs, Utilities, Federal and Foreign Affairs. If there are no other business, it is now 12:41 and we stand adjourned. Thank you.